Okay, so today we are gonna learn about cognitive distortions. Um, in brief, we have done in the previous slide. Okay, this is for someone who is age 10 plus. So this is gonna help your clients to explore the unhelpful thinking style. Okay, so what is unhelpful thinking style? Which thinking is not productive? Which thinking is not giving you any benefit? So we have done a few. So first is mental filter, but when you are only focusing on your failures and not seeing your success. Okay. So you're only focusing on the negative of a situation when you filter out and you filter out all the positive ones. Then jumping to conclusions, assuming that you know what other people are thinking. So pre-assumptions and jumping to negative conclusions, making negative predictions about the future or what other things about you. So it is all your assumptions and negative conclusions. Emotional reasoning, believing just because I am an emotional person, okay, so I feel it this way. That is also one of the thinking style which is of no use, unhelpful. Okay. So believing that just because you feel a certain way, then thinking that your thoughts must then be true. Because you're an emotional person, that means you are reasoning your emotions, you are validating your thoughts that this is a certain way to feel. Okay. So you base your view of situations, yourself, others on the way you are feeling. So you are giving your emotions so much of importance that you are not understanding the entire situation and you are only thinking as per your feeling, and according to your feeling you are judging everybody, situation and other people and yourself also. So that is also unhelpful thinking. So when you say na, I'm a very emotional person, you're justifying your negative thoughts. So you should not do that. Instead of that, you have to detach yourself and look at the situation as a third person. Now, labeling, I am such a person, I'm a crazy person, I'm a stupid person, or labeling anybody else also. Okay. So defining yourself and others also based on a single event. Maybe sometimes something happened and you just labeled yourself that I am such a person or the other one is such a person. So what you are doing is you're defining yourself and others based on any one single event or behavior, such as reducing yourself or other people to a single negative characteristic. So a person cannot only be a negative characteristic. You know, he has so much of positive also, which we need to see. Just a minute, I'm coming. Okay. And then blaming. So placing the blame on anybody else instead of owning up to your mistake or sharing the responsibility. So it's not about owning a mistake, like nothing is wrong or right, but we can say that you're sharing the responsibility. Okay. So when you share the responsibility and you take things on you, you actually do not have the victim mentality. Otherwise, when we start blaming others, we have what we feel for ourselves is the victim mentality that, oh, everyone is doing wrong with me. That's the blame game. Now, catastrophizing, only seeing the worst possible outcome of an event or situation, and then deciding that if this outcome does happen, the results will be a disaster. Worries become escalated and thoughts become exaggerated. So you are just thinking the worst scenario, which is going to only escalate your worries and exaggerate your thoughts. Okay. So these are unhelpful thinking. Is any one of these helping you out? No. We have actually done all this. So I'll just quickly take this overgeneralizing, means according to the past experience, you'll say it will always be like this or it will never be like this. Then seeing the black and white, either good or bad, right or wrong, all or nothing. But you fail to see the whole picture. Yeah? So don't ignore the middle ground, okay? Which is the more reasonable ground. Everything is not black and white, okay? There's a reasonable ground, which is a middle ground. So it might not be all true, all false, okay? And then should. We just have the conditioning since we are born and we start saying these sentences. This should be like this must be like this, I should have done this, I must have done this. And then we feel we are not able to do that. Then we feel guilt. Personalization, taking things personally. So most of the times people behave in a certain way because of their own traits. But what we generally do is we personalize it and take it on us. So you start blaming yourself for the things that were totally out of, if it is not in your control, you cannot control how the other people will behave. So they are behaving in a way where their mind is comfortable. So they are doing anything according to their convenience. But we start taking things personally, which is not right. You know, for example, if your child has got bad grade at school, you will start uh, blaming yourself. Fallacy of change. You expect that the other people will change to suit you if you just pressure or manipulate them enough. Sometimes we actually want others to change and we create a scene, we pressurize them, we manipulate them, and we expect the other people to change. Now, this is distortion, and this distortion is usually accompanied by a belief that your happiness and success rests on the other people. Why do you want to change anybody? Because you think then it's gonna make you happy, but it's not that. So what you start believing is forcing things to other people so that they change and then you feel good. Mostly as a parent, we force our children to do something, and when they do it, we feel that as a happy moment, but that's not true. So that's fallacy of change, means we want the people to change, and then fallacy of fairness. This these all are cognitive distortions. So this cognitive distortion refers to measuring every behavior and situation on a scale of fairness. Okay. It's almost the same we did earlier. It should be like this, it should be like this. So you believe that the thing should be fair, means you always want things to be fair enough. What is fair should be done. But life is not like that, and everyone is not like that. Everything will not be fair. Life is not fair. Okay. So if they are not fair, then you believe that it's not your fault. Okay. So sometimes we we find ourselves very supreme because we are fair and others are not. But then it's not about being fair. Okay? It's it's about a personal situation which we should actually consider sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. It's good to be fair, but not always. Sometimes situations might not be suitable enough, right? Try to rotate this. Yeah. So this is something you can make them fill. So they can write the date, what is the situation, what is the automatic thought which is coming, what is the emotion, what is the response, what is the new adaptive response after going through all the unhelpful thinking process, and then intensity of my automatic thought. Now, the automatic thought, is it more intense than the new adaptive response? Okay, because it is not going to happen overnight. It will take time, right? Now, let's do this. Fact or opinion? A fact is what? Fact is a truth known by an experience or observation. Means this thing happened, then this happened, then this happened is a fact which happened. Something that is known to be true. For example, the planet is round. It's a fact. It is spherical in shape. It's a fact. Opinion is someone's view or judgment of someone or something is only sometimes based on knowledge or a fact. Now, based on this fact, based on this knowledge, when you start making a judgment, then that's your opinion. So that might differ from person to person. So how does fact or opinion affect our thinking? Even though we know the difference between facts and opinions in terms of emotional distress, such as when we feel anxious, the rational part of our brain gets taken over by the emotional part, right? So rational part is your fact and emotional part is your opinion. So when you get anxious, you what you are doing is you are using your opinion and not the fact. So in these times, our brains can have difficulty differentiating the difference between facts and opinions. With more practice, you can help yourself become more robust and better at identifying the difference between the two. So it's very important to know the fact and understand the difference between fact and opinion. So when you say nobody likes me, is it a fact or is it your opinion? Okay, I'm going to fail my presentation is a fact or your opinion. Doctor called me in because they have bad news is a fact or an opinion. So all these things, my boyfriend is going to break up with me. My friends are all talking behind my back. I'm a total failure. I'll never be able to get a job. There are rumors going around about me. My teacher is picking on me. So are they facts or opinions? So mostly they are opinions, right? They are not facts. A fact means every time the same thing happening throughout your life. Still, things can anytime change. So these things cannot be fact. Disqualifying the positive. How accurate is your thought? So what is my worry? Now how you defense? What evidence do I have that my thought is true? This we have done. Fact or only facts, okay, not opinions. And the prosecution, what evidence do I have that my thoughts is not true? So you have to work on both. Is it true? So when you find the fact, that's your defense, okay? And when you find the opinion or when you find that it's not true, you are that's called prosecution. Okay. So having the evidence that your thought is true, first you need to, for example, nobody likes me. So I have to find out the evidence. What is the evidence that nobody likes me? I have to collect that data. Okay. So that is the defense. But the prosecution is what evidence do I have that my thought is not true? Do we ever think like that? No. So you need to work on the prosecution part where you find that no, it's not true. And what are the evidences? Maybe you start finding, okay, that day that person appreciated me. So it's not that nobody likes me, right? Although, like, if we go deeper, there's no reason for somebody to like you. There's no need for somebody to like you. You have to like yourself. And it's because ultimately it's your journey. If it's your journey, then who is important? Who should take the control? Who should matter the most? And who should be the uh, driver, right? Who should have the remote? Now, the judge's verdict, this we have done. When I examine all of the evidence based on the fact, can I decide whether my thought is likely to come true or unlikely? Now, identifying your symptoms, memory issue, avoidance, headache, insomnia, needing assurance, procrastination. This all we have done. Lack of patience, rapid. I think it is the same. Overthinking, sweating. So you need to identify that which symptoms you are having out of these. Okay. And then challenging. Will this thought matter in a day? So sometimes you have to just think that the way I'm thinking, is it gonna last for years? Or it's just for a few days or maybe a few hours, maybe a week. So is it my assumption? Is there any other way to look at it? What are the other possible outcomes? Is the evidence for this worry? What advice would I give to a friend? This we have done. Is this worry or in or out of my control? And then what if? So it's okay. Like when you are thinking that is it's an assumption. So now you can see it both ways, now negative what if and positive what if. What if I fail? What if I'm late? Okay. So when you have this, at the same time, why don't you go for the positive ones also? What if catch your thought and think of a positive what if situation instead? Okay. So most of the times when we have anxious thought, we attach it with what if, for example, what if I fail my test? What if the doctor had bad news? What if I'm late? When doing this, we predict a terrible situation and fail to see any other possible outcome. That anxiousness makes us think, oh my God, this is going to happen. At the same time, you can find yourself saying, what if? Catch your thought and think of a positive. What if this happens? What if this happens? So that will, that you need to develop that habit so that you can shift from negative to the positive. Now, predicting the future direction thinking, think of a situation where you predicted the future and assumed the worst. Any situation when you assumed the worst. What was the situation? Okay, and how did you feel? Was the outcome as bad as you predicted? Explain what the outcome was. What is the problem with you predict the future and jump to conclusions? Okay, so most of the times we know that it's not actually what we have thought. है ना? So how does it, like, what is the problem when you predict the future and jump to conclusion? That means that is all happening in a unproductive thinking, no result thinking. There's no gain. Can anybody really predict the future? No, we never know. We never know. When you find yourself predicting the future again, what can you say to yourself? Let's try to look at this way. If you had a friend predicting the future, what advice could you give them? So again, detaching and thinking as a friend or a third person. Decatastrophizing. No? So catastrophizing we have done. What am I worried about? When I think about all the evidence in my past experiences, how likely is it that this would actually come true? If my worry does come true, what is the worst possible outcome? If my worry does come true, what is likely to happen? How it will affect me? Will this worry matter tomorrow, next week, in a month, or even in years' time? Labeling. Defining yourself and others based on a single event or behavior, such as reducing yourself or others to a single negative characteristic or descriptor, like crazy or stupid, this we have done. So we are putting labels on ourselves and others. I'm unlovable. They are an idiot. So list three things that can challenge your labeling thought. Means when you thought you are like this or somebody is like that, but actually it didn't happen. Do you have any triggers that make you label thoughts? So you need to identify those triggers. For example, wherever this situation comes, I feel like I am totally unloved. So, those triggers you need to identify when you feel low, when you feel angry. So, you need to identify those triggers. Then you start labeling, oh, I'm useless, I'm hopeless, they are useless, or they are hopeless. So, what triggers? Something, maybe their behavior towards you, maybe your expectations not met, your own expectations from yourself. Now, what are the consequences of labeling thought? होता क्या उससे? We feel negative, and then a whole cycle of anxiousness, and we have seen everything, right? And then what happens is we start blaming. So when you place the blame on others, you feel victimized. You start feeling guilty or responsible. So you are assigning guilt or responsibility for how you feel to someone else. Now you don't want to feel guilty. So you want to feel victimized, and so you pass that guilt or responsibility to somebody else. He makes me feel bad about myself. She makes me feel inadequate. Do you often blame others for your mistakes? Describe a time when you blamed others or a situation for your own mistake. What are the consequences? So when we give this, the client has to write this. So these are the sheets. And then should. So again, like मुझे ये करना ही चाहिए, मुझे ये करना ही चाहिए, या I should have, I must have. No? But then you are not able to, and then you feel guilt, shame, and self-loathing. So what were the times when you should statements? Can you notice any triggers? Now, what is the moment when you feel that I should, or I'm mostly again over expectations from ourselves? And what can help challenge should statements? So how do you deal with this? By being kind to yourself, not over expecting. Now, what are the consequences of using should statements? Again, you are over pressurizing yourself and going into guilt. Now, personalization, you're taking things personally when people are doing something, okay, which was totally out of your control. Okay. So what thoughts do you have that fall into into this cognitive distortion? What thoughts when you start feeling, oh, it's all my fault, personalizing? What can help challenge personalizing? So you can always have that picture in the mind. What is in your control? What is not in your control? And then you can be relaxed. Okay, this is not what this is something which is not in my control. So okay, I'll not take it personally. Because when you start taking personally, again, you go into the cycle of anxiousness, stress, anxiety, self guilt, and so many negative feelings. Again, emotional reasoning. I feel ugly today, so I'm not good looking. My partner must be cheating on me because I feel jealous. So, this is all your emotions, okay? So, that's not true. Again, believing that just because you feel a certain way, then justifying it that your thoughts must then be confirmed. You know, you are feeling emotional and you want your thoughts to be confirmed, justified. So you base your view of situations, yourself or others on how you feel. So describe a situation in which you used emotional reasoning, getting very emotional. What is the trigger? Maybe when you are not appreciated. Okay, so this is completely unhelpful thinking style. You need to understand this is unhelpful thinking style. That being emotional, I'm feeling this way, and this should be this way. The other person should be this way, and the situation should be this way. No, this is unhelpful. How do you think your physical symptoms impact the way you think? Now, physical symptoms means your uh, looks, you know, your body language, your clothing style, your dressing style. Sorry. Okay. What are the consequences? You need to write black and white thinking. So this is all again the same thing, repetition. You can see. So here we have given the sheet where the child or the parent can start writing any situation. When you have the extremes of thinking blind you from seeing the reality and can cause you significant distress. For example, your co-worker was a saint until she accidentally ate your lunch. Now you cannot start. Means so this is something, oh my God, black and white. She was a saint and now she is just the opposite. It doesn't happen like that. You need to have the middle ground. Okay? So don't consider somebody as, oh, she is too good or she is too bad. They are human, they make mistakes. Start accepting. So, what coping skills can you implement to help combat black and white thinking? Is that nobody is black and white, there's something gray, and nobody is 100% pure or 100% impure. Accepting this. Okay. What are the consequences? Okay. Jumping to conclusions. Any situation when you jump to a conclusion without knowing the facts and information, and then what happened, what can you do to ensure that you don't jump to conclusions next time? By focusing more on the facts, okay, and still try to be positive, that you can never predict future. So why not start from thinking positive, right? So that's all about today. Yesterday I did not share any recording because I was busy. So sorry for that. Okay. Maybe I'll try to send it every day, but because of Diwali, I might skip a day or two. So I'll try my best to share every day. I also enjoy it actually.